There are hundreds of allocated products out there in the bourbon world, and there's dozens and dozens of special releases every year as well. These 10 that we're going to talk about today are the ones that we care the most about.
Welcome to Stuff and Whiskey. I'm Erin.
I'm Josh. Thanks for joining us today. If you're new here, we are just a couple of regular Joes and Janes or Jills or whatever you want to go by.
Or Erin's.
Or Erin's. And I'm not Joe, I'm Josh. But anyways, we're not professional whiskey tasters, but we have been very fortunate to try a ton of whiskey through the 3 years plus of this channel and years and years before that involvement in the community, in the hobby. So today we're going to be talking about the special releases and the allocated products that we actually are interested in ourselves after having tasted a bunch of stuff blind. This video is stuff that if we could get it at suggested retail, we would buy it. Period. We would keep a bottle in the house always.
Based on our flavor profile, what we like, and how it tastes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason this topic came up, it's kind of interesting to think about, but things like Old Forester Birthday Bourbon on like the limited release side, all the way down to things like Elmer T. Lee on more of just the kind of regular allocated side. Those are products that we've tasted blind and we don't really care about them. They're just not the type of things
They don't strike us as special when they're blind, when we don't know we're drinking them.
Right. And having bottles of those isn't something that we necessarily seek out to have ourselves. These products we're going to talk about today definitely are bottles that we love having, and we actually do look for them. When they disappear, when we drink through them, we're looking for a replacement for them. We love this stuff. We want this stuff. We wish it were available, and that's the whole point of this video. So let's go ahead and get right into it. This is going to kind of go through a little bit of a progression in some ways, but I think the best place to start out is kind of an everyday sipper that we would love to be able to get our hands on and just keep a bottle of in the house. It's not always possible, but we do really like this stuff for nice, easy drinking. And that's Eagle Rare.
Yeah. And I know in some parts of the world, this is easier to find than others. Where we're at in the United States, in Tennessee, it is not very easy to find.
Yeah. It's actually very difficult, and I know a lot of people experience the same thing with Eagle Rare. It gets marked up. It's generally sweet, good. The 10 years of age on it adds a little bit of oak to the profile that adds a little bit of complexity, but by and large, it's not super complex. It's not super, impressive to drink.
But it's tasty.
But it's tasty, yeah. Sometimes you just want something easy going, generally sweet. This really fits the bill for us, and we can't find it all that much. It's hard to find. So we do wish we could get our hands on Eagle Rare. I think everybody should try to get a bottle of it. I think the MSRP went up to like $40 on it.
Okay.
And a lot of stores sell it for $50 to $60. I wouldn't fault anybody for spending that on a bottle of it. I would definitely not spend more than $60 on a bottle of it.
Yeah.
It ain't that good. It's just whiskey.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that could be said for all of this, for being honest.
That's fair. Moving on, but staying in the Buffalo Trace family, going to bring out Weller Antique 107 and Weller Foolproof. Weller Antique 107 is great. A lot of these Buffalo Trace products have a lot of similar flavor notes. So like Eagle Rare was very kind of cherry, grape, oaky. These kind of have the same thing going on, but it's just a slightly different expression. And both of these bring more proof to the equation. They are, I think, the only two wheated Buffalo Trace bourbons that you like. You don't tend to like most Buffalo Trace wheated bourbons.
Traditionally, I don't like wheated bourbons in general.
Right. You don't even like the Pappy Van Winkle line, but you do tend to like these. I like these as well. If I could get this if it sells in our market, it should be $65, and this should be $70, the Foolproof. And I would keep a bottle of both of those around at that price.
Yeah.
I'm not really wanting to pay too much more than that for either one of these. I might stretch, if I didn't have a bottle, I might stretch up to $100 for one or the other. But having now had several bottles of each of them over the years, even more than several, I'm kind of fine right at around retail, and I'd prefer not to pay much more than that for them. But they are good. They're generally sweet. They bring a little proof and spice that the Eagle Rare is lacking, and I generally would lean more towards these than the Eagle Rare. So good stuff. We would definitely recommend
get these more.
Checking them out. Yeah. They should be more available, and hopefully they will be in future years when Buffalo Trace's expansion kind of starts putting more product out there into the market. But we'll see. Last Buffalo Trace distillery bottle on the list, I believe, yes, that is correct, would be George T. Stagg. Now, this could be representative of the entire Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, or at least William LaRue Weller and Thomas H. Handy and Eagle Rare 17 in this. We kind of like all four of those.
Yeah,
pretty
but
well.
I think it's specifically talking about Stagg.
This is our favorite one of the bunch.
Yeah.
And this is one actually that we would both co-sign buying if we could get it for the $125 to $150 that it should be out there at, if you could find it. Now, if this were on the shelf, I would buy 2 of them every year. I would spend $300 and buy 2 of these every single year, every annual release, one to drink, one to kind of have as a backup. Not available though, very obviously, but if these were, I would just buy these. I would skip Stagg Jr. or the squat bottle Stagg, baby Stagg, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And I would pass go, collect $200 and go straight to the George T's.
There you go.
If it's me. And your palate kind of agrees as well.
Yeah.
Stagg Jr. is a little rowdy for you.
There's some batches I like more than others. It's not as consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which George T brings the
Consistency is a big factor for me.
Yep. Next up is going to be a couple of bottles from Michter's, and these are going to be
specifically the rye
barrel strength and the toasted barrel ryes.
Yeah.
Now, we love these bottles. We also do enjoy the 10-year bourbon and 10-year rye, but those are lower proof and twice the price of these, which kind of disqualified them from the list because...
Well, and I enjoy these more.
Yes, well, there's that too. Yeah, we do tend to enjoy the proof and flavor of these more. And also, we would much rather pay $100 for each of these than we would pay $200 for either one of those.
Yeah.
Again, this list is things we would actually spend our own money on
Yes.
regularly if they were available. And these definitely qualify. We kind of like everything Michter's does, but sometimes the value can get a little lopsided.
Yeah, some things I like more than others, but I generally like Michter's products.
Yeah.
Overall.
The barrel strength rye, it's just a great flavor profile. It's a Kentucky rye. It's not quite as herbaceous or eucalyptusy or dilly or, like those types of notes that kind of put me off that Aaron likes a little bit more. It leans a little bit more sweet, but it's still got some of those rye elements in there. So it's kind of a perfect middle ground for us. And then the toasted barrel rye, it just amps up the flavor saturation, the finish,
It's so good.
the whole profile. So we like these both a lot. Certainly wish they were available more often.
Yeah, for sure.
Would absolutely keep probably a few bottles of those around. Next
What we got
up
next?
is going to be
Oh, yeah.
one of our biggest loves, Wild Turkey. The non-chill filtered rare breed. It comes in these 1 liter bottles. It's got this black label down here that kind of indicates, and it'll tell you right on the front label, non-chill filtered. And this one is one we would definitely buy. I mean,
Yeah, so regular rare breed is good, but the non-chill filter just takes it like up a notch.
yes. And you get a liter for less money than what the regular 750 milliliter rare breed costs. So we would just, if this were available, we would just buy this and never buy a regular rare breed ever again, probably. There's no need to.
Yeah, I would just buy the non-chill
These are
filtered
like
all day.
$40 a liter if you get them they're an international duty-free release. So you're only going to get them in a duty-free international travel situation. $40 for a liter versus $50 for a 750 of the regular rare breed. That's not as good. No brainer. We're buying this all the time. This needs to be on the shelf. Wild Turkey, please make this happen.
Yeah,
please,
on the
please make
shelf
this happen.
in regular stores.
Yes, we literally.
Please.
It's already one of the value kings of whiskey, especially of bourbon, especially. It would be undisputed at $40. Russell's 15. This one's a little bit more for me.
Yeah.
You would not buy this
No.
at $250.
I would not. I would just buy more of this.
Yes. I love this so much that I would buy this at if they would continue to make this, I would never be without a bottle at $250. Now, it would be a very special bottle, and I would drink it a little slow with special company and all that, but it would be, along with the George T. Stagg, the 2 special bottles, amongst others that I would keep around to share with special company, special occasions, things like that. So we do love Wild Turkey. The Master's Keep line is cool and all, but these 2 products from them are,
solid.
Truthfully speaking, our 2 favorite products.
Yep.
So,
you go.
just speaking our truth here. Next up is going to be the heavy hitter in the list, King of Kentucky.
And this is more also for you as far as
It is.
This is delicious, but we're also talking about what we'd be willing to pay for, and I would not be willing to pay for this.
Right.
He would be. So I'm agreeing this is on the list, but
only for me.
Only for you.
Yeah. More to share with friends if they were
to
over.
share with people and
that's
have
when
that
you would partake.
have that experience and I would partake in it. Yeah.
$275, $300 if you could get it at suggested retail. I would buy one of these, 2 of these every year. I would literally buy less regular shelf stuff so I could buy the George T. Stagg and the Russell's 15 and this. Like I would want to have more of these and less kind of middle shelf things than I would just have the rare breed non-chill filter.
But,
and
I mean, the flavor on this is really good, and that's why it's on the list for me, just because it is really good. Yes. I just don't love the price point, even at retail, but that's just because I'm cheap.
Yeah. 14 to 18-year-old have been the age on these releases from Brown-Forman, but it has its own mash bill that is shared with Early Times Bottled and Bond, but this is well-aged, cranked up in proof. It's an absolutely mammoth Kentucky whiskey. They can have like these like weird funky notes in there that just make them very cool and interesting to try. They are single barrels, so that's why I don't really dabble on even paying up a marked up price as much as I love them. And I am willing to pay some marked up prices, kind of silly prices sometimes for some special things. But these are single barrels and they make me a little nervous because I'm already stretching my budget to get one. So if I can't try it first, I'm very trepidatious about just splurging on one of these. But I mean, I've had some that are kind of bitter and over oaked, but man, most of the time they are just absolute vanilla brown sugar bombs, and I love these things. I would buy these as much as I possibly could, as much as my budget would allow. And the last bottle up on the list is actually kind of a categorical annual release. And we can't find these, but boy, oh boy, I sure wish we could every year. And it is the Jack Daniel's annual special release. And it comes in these bottles. This is the 2020 Barrel Proof Rye and the 2021 Coy Hill. Our last bottles of each of these that we ever had. And these special releases are so good. Even the American Single Malt Oloroso Sherry finish they did was awesome. The toasted ryes that they've been doing, twice barreled ryes, are amazing. Jack Daniel's just doesn't seem to miss on these special releases. Yeah. And we would buy whatever they released every year. We would probably buy 2 of them because they're about $70. Fantastic value. I mean, that's, of all the things we mentioned, some of the cheapest bottles out there. Like to not even break into 3 figures for being a special release item is pretty remarkable.
Actually, yeah.
And Jack Daniel's is doing this every year, and they just don't miss. So at that price point and that level of quality,
we just can't get them every year just because we can't find them.
Exactly. And then they get marked up to like $200, and then it's a whole thing. So you guys know it's a whole thing. That's why you're probably watching this video. But if it wasn't on this list, it probably means we don't care all that much about it. There's a lot of stuff out there that we would like to try. We do enjoy trying, but it's either so expensive that either we've tried it and it's so expensive that it's outside of the scope of what we're going to dabble in. Yeah. Or it's just like, kind of like I said, some of the more regularly allocated products that we've tried, and we've tried them and we're good. We're not interested in procuring bottles. We've tried them and gone down that road. Now, there is always new stuff coming out all the time. Yes. And so this list is subject to change with all the new releases that come out. And there's some things on this list that weren't included that easily could have made honorable mentions, like the Four Roses small batch limited edition that they release every year. You know, some really crazy releases like Mr. Sam tribute whiskey that we both tried.
But we were trying to keep this concise because Josh can get a little carried away with honorable mentions. So
but these truly are. We talked about it, went through the list, and narrowed it down to 10. Yep. And these 10 really are the things that we're most interested in. 100%. I'm a whiskey nerd, and I'm interested in a whole lot more than this, but that list would have been like 50 bottles deep.
Yeah, we'd be here for days.
But all right, you've been here for long enough. Yes. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you like the channel. If you're good people and you like good whiskey, check out our Patreon down in the video description below. That's what we're all about, good people and good whiskey. So check it out, a couple bucks. You can get plugged into our community of people who talk whiskey and help each other find whiskey all day, every day. And that's where we release our barrel picks as well through Patreon. So if you want stuff where we go and pick barrels and make them available to you guys, then you can get in on that over there. And you can get shirts like this at stuffandwhiskey.com, as well as glassware, Aaron's Cozy Corner.
Yeah, I've got a few
goods,
things.
all kinds of stuff. Check it out.
Check it out. That's it for today, y'all. Be good to each other. And until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.